Welcome to another episode in our CEO series here on Learn, Grow, Invest. I'm Jermaine, CEO and coach here at Learn, Grow, Invest. So today we're going to be speaking with Larren Peart, CEO of Bluedot Insights. We're going to be learning about the background of the company, what are their offerings in terms of products and services, who are their main clients, just kind of understanding the business a lot better. We're going to hear from Larren in terms of his plans for the future of the company. Is there, what's on the horizon for them. So this is going to be another great episode. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts, and if you have questions for Larren, start preparing them from now, because we're going to have Q&A at the end. So let's get started.
Learning is the key to successful investing, and who doesn't want to invest in some way?
Here at L.E.A.R.N. Invest, we focus on financial education, all with the aim of sharing our knowledge on personal finance, investing, and building wealth. We do this on the foundation of our faith in God.
If a more holistic approach is what you need, check out our Grow Faith-based financial coaching program.
Find out more about us at learngrowinvestclub.com
and follow us on all social media platforms at Learn, Grow, Invest.
All right, welcome back. Let us pray. Thank you, Lord, for this day and the opportunity to produce wealth. We pray, Lord, that this will be a meaningful session, one where we're all enriched. And I pray, Lord, that you'll bless this community. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, help me to welcome Larren Peart. Larren, how are you doing?
I'm good, Jermaine. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for accepting our invitation. I know you were actually very willing from the start. It was just a matter of the timing. So I'm happy that your calendar has provided us with that opportunity now.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
All right. So let's just go right into it. Tell us, about your journey. A little bit about yourself and your journey to being the CEO of Bluedot.
Okay. All right. So hi to everyone that's joining and that will watch later. So full name is Larren Peart. I'm from Montego Bay, so born in Mobay, grew up there, and went to Monroe and left Monroe at 15. Then went to CIT, did a year, and then couldn't afford university, so I started working. So I went straight into the working world. Pretty early, moved to Kingston, started working for Doug Housel at AIS and spent a lot of time there, 13 years there, just understudying him and business. And then, I decided that, it was time for me to branch out, and that's the short version of how Bluedot came about. But AIS processes health insurance claims, so they process all the health insurance claims in Jamaica and some other Caribbean islands, and that's where I realized the true value and the power of data, because I was seeing a lot of transactions coming in, and the advantage of being able to have access to that type of data. So that's the short version. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we don't necessarily need a short version. So tell us a little bit more from that point. So you got the idea, you knew you wanted to start a company. Mm-hmm. So what were the steps from the idea to know the execution, the forming of that company, and what were the early days like?
All right. So like I said, AIS processes health insurance claims, right? And I've told this story a couple of times, but I would be in the server room at AIS and looking at transactions coming in, health transactions, right? So like I would say drugs, flu medication, for example, being dispensed in Ocherius, right? And I would know anecdotally, just by having that insight, that it would take about a week before I would start to see the same type of flu medications being dispensed in Montego Bay, right? Which meant that it took a week for the flu to spread from Mobay to Ochi. So I would always call my father and say, "Pops, start taking vitamin C because the flu will reach Mobay." And he would, of course, never listen to me and always end up catching the flu. But it really highlighted to me the power of data, right? And just imagining at the time, if the government had access to this type of data, the type of preventative medicine and things I could put in place to mitigate types of spread like that. And this is just in one instance, just looking at health claims data, de-identified health claim data. I need to make sure I said that. Or anonymized health claim data, right?
Yeah.
So that's when I was like, there's something in this data space. There's no data company in Jamaica or the Caribbean. Let me go out and start one. And that was really the impetus for me starting Bluedot. But when we started 2014, which is we turned 9 this year, um, big data was a buzzword, but it was a very hard sell, right? Going into a company and saying, "Hey, you have all of this data. Let me help you. It has all of this value. Let me mine it for you."
Yeah.
It just wasn't working. So ended up doing market research and being very good at market research, because at the time my thinking was, all right, I'll use market research as our Trojan horse into getting into the entities. Market research is still some type of data, um, and let me use that to get into these companies, and that's what happened. And we got very, very good at market research to the point now where I think I can safely say we're top of mind especially in market research in Jamaica. Um, and yeah, we just have so much technology, and there's so many cool things that we do on the research and on the data side that I think we've built a really good brand. And yeah, that's the story in a quick nutshell.
Okay, and we'll talk about a little bit more about the customers that you serve, some of the things that you're working on a little bit later.
Right.
But in terms of let's talk about maybe the inspiration behind the naming of the company. Maybe highlight anyone who was instrumental in the forming of the company. What were those early days like?
I hope you wasn't going to ask me about the name of the company, because I don't have a profound story for that, right? So the day before, well, let me back up. So Kimala Bennett and I started Bluedot, right? I was a nobody. I needed some type of strategic partner. And I looked around the space and I figured, well, most companies that do market research, they need campaigns and advertising and whatnot. So let me partner with somebody who is already in with those companies, these large corporate companies that I would get an in with the brand managers and the marketing managers. So I approached Kimala, and she eventually came on board, and it was her and I that started Bluedot. So big up to Kimala for taking a shot with me, right? Um, Kimala's done that for many people, by the way. She busts whole heap of people, and very quietly. Um, so that's how I started to do that. But my first client, um, I needed to submit a proposal and a invoice, and I didn't have a name yet, right?
Okay.
So the last day before the deadline for me to register the company, I had a list of about 10 to 15 very complex names. I had like Data Decisioning and Strategy Limited, and like I just a whole bunch of like I
Yeah.
should look at the list, right? And
I
it was
remember those days, right? I it was when I was at the registrar of companies about to submit the documents. They're like, you need to name your company. I was like,
yeah,
what? Like, it's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, and it was stressing me out, to be honest with you, because like at the time I thought that having a name was the most important thing. So,
Yes,
I,
yes.
so I went to a bar to relieve my stress, right? And I was drinking a Red Stripe, and because I didn't have Heineken, so I was drinking a Red Stripe, and I was literally looking at the bottle of Red Stripe and thinking, like, all right, eventually, what the hell does Red Stripe mean? Like, why is it? Why is what does it mean?
Yeah.
And long story short, I ended up going from like red stripe to red square to green stripe, green square, and somehow ended up at blue dot. And I wish I had a more profound story. Like blue dot means something in Latin or Greek or something like that, or somewhere in the Bible. But no, that's I have to
No,
clarify. I just
People don't understand how naming works, right? That I remember when we were naming Learn Grow Invest, I wrote down maybe 30 different names.
yeah,
Starting as basic as ABC investing all the way down to some very random names. And the
yeah,
thing is, I think when you get to that name, it sounds intriguing enough, interesting enough, and you feel like you can grow into it. You don't always necessarily feel like it relates to you now, but
yeah.
maybe it's something that you can grow to or aspire to. So when we got to Learn, Grow, Invest, we're like, okay, those words mean something separately and they mean something together. Maybe persons will, think
It's
it's this kind of
brilliant.
cool.
It's
Yeah.
brilliant actually. And ironically, so we have, I would say, most of big corporate Jamaica as our clients, and for some reason, Red Stripe isn't one of our clients. In full coincidence and irony, and I need to. I keep saying I need to change. I need to go and pitch to them. Um, but yeah, that is how Bluedot started. So we started out to be a big data company because it was the thing then, but
Yeah.
ended up doing market research. We got really good at it. And then now, of course, now that everybody is realizing the power and the value of data in the last couple of years, we are, forging our way into data analytics and that whole exciting space. AI is a big thing now. So, yeah.
Man, sounds good. And I mean, you definitely know that I can relate. I am in the business intelligence field right now for my full-time job. Most persons don't know that I do Learn, Grow, Invest part-time, by the way,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we'll talk about that another
You're,
time.
you're the BI boss.
Something like that. So let's get into a little bit more details now about the company. Is it purely services based? Do you have maybe particular products that you'll package or maybe target at a particular customer segment with? Talk to us about the services or the offerings of Bluedot.
All right. So I think I should first start with the mission, right? So I recently changed our mission um, to be the wisest company in the Caribbean, changing the way we think about, we use and think about data, right? I have to thank one of our data scientists, data analyst, sorry, Jahal. He thinks that we should be the wisest company in the Caribbean. And he's absolutely right because we already have so much data that we collect.
Yeah,
Technically, we're already a very wise company because we know a lot of what is going on in the country. Uh,
the different industries. Yeah,
yeah, because we do research and collect so much data across so many industries, private and public, that we probably are one of the wisest companies, right? From that standpoint. So that's our mission, and it's a part of a, you could say it's a passion project for me because I am absolutely tired of and hate when you go into a presentation and you see some CEO or some marketing manager who says that the size of the bottled water market in the United States is X%, right? And there's never any local data, and it's something that irks me all the time. And so the mission really is to democratize data and give both public and private sector organizations the value and the power of making data driven decisions. So
yeah,
that's the, I have to mention that first, right? So the mission is to change the way we think about data, we use and think about data, and we have a very gut-based decision-making culture in the Caribbean, right? In Jamaica and the rest of
yes,
the Caribbean. Somebody starting a company and they send out a text in a WhatsApp group to them family who are all yes men, right? And they're not getting the type of feedback that is going to add that much value to them, right? So
yeah,
or objective feedback, I should say. So that's the most that they will do. Most people, most companies will do. So the mission is to democratize data, be brokers of data, and allow anybody who wants the ability to make data-driven decisions. So in terms of, I think the other question I'd asked was around our products and
yeah,
services.
yeah.
So
How I mean, based on the mission that you just stated, how do you how do you kind of break down, services, products to the market? I mean, not sharing any IP, of course, but what do you position for clients?
Right. So we have two buckets, or two streams. We have the market research department, and then we have the data analytics department, right? So on the market research side, it's of course more established than the data side now. Like I said, we had to start with that, and we got really good at it. So we do everything from customer satisfaction surveys to brand awareness studies, measuring ROI, etc., for a lot of the a lot of big corporate Jamaica and some other Caribbean territories as well. Um, I always feel some amount of pride when I walk down a supermarket aisle, almost every aisle in a supermarket, and I can see products that we would have helped to launch. Um, or done the studies prior to launching, or did label testing or TV commercials done that I see every day that we would have tested, or would have tested the concept for it for clients. So these companies or clients, or main clients, really don't make any important decisions without coming to us from the market research side to vet and validate and pre-test, and do that type of testing. Krispy Kreme, for example, that's just about to launch now. To come into the market, we would have done that pre-market study for them. So we do a
Interesting.
lot. Yeah, so we do a lot. We and we don't just give like service level information. There was a pizza joint that was coming into the island the other day, 2 years ago, and they wanted to find out where to put their store locations, and we looked at traffic data, um, crime data, um, and a whole bunch of other data. So they were like particularly interested in um, in school children, right? So we told them how many schools were in particular areas, the traffic, the foot traffic, vehicular traffic, crime in the area, the economic profile of the communities, and demographic profile, all of that information, and gave them 5 locations where, and also bus and taxi route information. So how many buses and taxis terminated close to these locations, so they could know how to gauge, traffic and whatnot. So like we do that type of fulsome type of study, and we're able for them to tell them where to go and look for your locations based on the profile of the potential customers. So we go as deep as that on the research side. We're also very heavily invested in neuroscience. So we do eye tracking, so we track eye movement on packages and billboards and menus and commercials. We do facial coding, which measures the muscles in your face, or micro expressions, so we know what emotion is being evoked while a respondent is watching a commercial. So when we test in commercials for our clients, we can tell them what emotion is being evoked while the respondent is watching the commercial and where they're looking. So from
Interesting.
a product placement standpoint, are people seeing your branding? Are people seeing your call to action? So I mean, I could spend the whole hour talking about the research.
Yeah.
And then on the data side, um, we have a very bright team now, and we're working on some very important and exciting projects over there on the data side. That's all I can say on that.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, fair enough. I was gonna ask you about your team as well. What's the staff complement like? What are some of the different roles that you have on your team?
Um,
And are you actually seeking to expand the team anytime soon?
I think we have, I think we have 20 employees. No, if we count the Trinidad team. Um, and yeah, definitely expanding. We're always hiring, so we're looking for specific people. So data scientists, engineers, data analysts, people that have access stats, um, heavy on the data piece, project managers, etc., etc. I think we need to double our team by the end of the year,
Wow.
and then some. So just to take advantage of all the opportunity that us So we're actively looking. We're looking as far as Ukraine and the Philippines now, and just building out, and India.
As in for the team or to expand
for
to
the team,
interpret?
for the team, for the
Okay.
team. Because one of the challenges is that there is only just now like a data. I think you has a data marketing and data analytics course that started about 2 years ago, or
Yes.
about 2 years ago. So I don't think the first batch of people have graduated. I don't remember. I'm not sure. So we have to look elsewhere for talent. And every entrepreneur now knows that there is a gross shortage of talent everywhere. So
Yeah.
um, attracting and retaining talent is a priority number one for us at the moment.
Yeah. That's interesting, right? And I don't want to go off on a tangent there, but it's interesting because I don't think persons understand. So I'm very interested in data and all things data.
Yeah,
So I'm actually personally studying data engineering now because I see that skill set just not common, right?
yeah,
So there are persons who just don't really understand the potential, because if you have that skill set, you can really work in any industry. So if you match that skill set with industry experience, then you could make a really decent living in that space, right?
for sure.
So
For sure.
of course, I'm hoping to merge my knowledge in data with
Yeah,
investing, and that's
yeah,
where some of the opportunities I think for Learn Grow Invest will come. But what we do when we engage companies now through Learn Grow Invest Limited, we are presenting data to them
yeah,
about our community and why they should go with us, and
yeah,
what the audience is who watches our content and what they're looking for, things like that. So it's I think made a difference in a lot of the conversations we have with clients who will choose us for investor relations services, because I think we maybe present something that nobody else does, and
yeah,
that's data about the space. Right, I was speaking to a client and they were very curious to learn just how much we had to share about the investment space locally. So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
for another time, no, but we'll do it, we'll talk about that one privately, because I
Yeah,
see where we could maybe have some interesting discussions about it.
yeah, and I'll tell you this, right? If I think if we as in Bluedot seriously, paid some attention to it, we know what consumer trends are, right? Because we do all of these surveys and we know what pain points people are having, and we also know what the opportunities are because we're collecting. On any given day we have probably as much as 100 of our interviewers out across the island collecting data, right? Every day, for various clients. So we have a lot of consumer data that, if we were really mining it and leveraging it, which we probably should, we would be able to predict when a company is going to have an increase or a shortfall, or that type of stuff. But
That
we're
would be very useful, I'm sure, in
not
a nice subscription model or a membership model.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, maybe we should talk about that.
We should definitely talk about it.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a team in Trinidad. So is it that persons are based in Trinidad but they're still ultimately working remotely? What's that kind of dynamic like?
Um. So there is a I was going to reference a HBR, Harvard Business Review, um, newsletter that I read the other day. But to answer your question specifically, I haven't been able to pull the trigger on Trinidad as yet.
Mhm.
We have the clients over there and we have the team, but there's just so much work happening in Jamaica that the Trinidad team is doing Jamaica work, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Um, and which is why I need to expand the team so quickly, because there's just so much
Yeah.
opportunity. in Trinidad, that I need the Trinidad team to focus, over there, and then or possibly just centralize all of our reporting and data analytics, to Jamaica, and so I've been to Trinidad a couple of times. I'm traveling. I wish I was there now for Carnival. I couldn't. I had my ticket booked, but I had to go to New York for another project. I just came back recently. I think I told you that I was there. Um, but there's tremendous opportunity in Trinidad for us because a lot of our clients are in the fast moving consumer goods space, and there's a lot of manufacturers and distributors over there in Trinidad. So um, I'm anxious to pull the trigger and start getting. We have clients here. We've done work there quite a few
Yeah.
times, even up to a couple of weeks ago, but we're not maximizing that potential as yet.
Okay.
Because of
Any thoughts about Guyana? Because I know there's been a lot of talk about. There was a group of companies that went over there a few weeks ago.
Yeah. So um, all I will say is that I was in Guyana a couple of weeks ago, and it's also very very ripe with opportunity, and we're definitely going to take advantage of what's happening in Guyana as well. Yeah.
Great, great. All right. So in terms of let's talk about the company in terms of structure, right? So we saw an article. I think it's maybe close to a year now about GK taking a stake in Bluedot. Talk to us about the overall structure of the company now. How many partner shareholders, etc. do you have? And well, let's start there, and some other questions will follow.
Yeah. So two partners, my holding company and Grace Kennedy, were the only two shareholders now. Um, People would have seen um, my roller coaster a year ago, or 1 to 2 years ago, with SSL and them being a shareholder, and me having to buy back the shares, and luckily being able to purchase the shares back from them. And then Grace Kennedy came in. Big kudos to them to both seeing the strategic value for them, because they need data to grow. They need,
Yes,
they're one of our biggest clients.
I
um,
imagine so.
yeah, yeah. Prior to them becoming an equity shareholder, they were one of our bigger clients. Still not our largest client, but one of. Um, and yeah, so they're a shareholder in the company. And we're leveraging a lot of their corporate governance. They win the corporate governance award from the stock exchange every year, um, and leveraging a lot of their skill sets and connections and whatnot to grow. And they've been an excellent partner so far.
So what's it? Has there been discussion? So when a partnership came together, what were the expectations? Is it that you sold them on the vision? They say we're coming on board, and you just do what you do kind of vibe, or is it because sometimes these partnerships might have timelines or expectations. What was that process like?
No, no, I slid into Donald his DMs. That's how that started. So I pitched to him in his Instagram DM, and the pitch was, look, you guys have a 2030 vision. You can't achieve that without data. You need to be
That's
making
true.
data decisions. You need to be more efficient. Data, proper data analytics allows for that. Um, I'd love to have a meeting with you, and that's how that started. Um, so for them, it is one, leveraging us as well, and our skill sets and expertise and what we can provide to them. So it wasn't much of a financial ROI in X amount of years type of decision. It is, this is good for us, and we're going to um, put a stake in it, or take a stake in Blue Dot. So that's the crux of that relationship.
Okay, okay. And I was gonna ask you, because I've had this, conversation a couple of times recently. is based on, what you just said. What would you say to an entrepreneur who's considering giving up ownership of his company or taking on, shareholders, investors? What are some of the decisions that maybe you should think about if you think you're ready for that step?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I'm a good person to ask this because I've been through it, right? I've had
I
good
thought
investors
you'd be.
and bad investors. Definitely, alignment of vision is number one, right? As much as they're doing due diligence on you, you need to do due diligence on
Yes.
them as well. But definitely ensure that there is alignment of vision and purpose and timelines to achieve that vision and purpose, right? The timeline thing is also important. So you shouldn't have a long-term play and you invest to have a short-term play where they want to make some quick money and get some quick wins. And you're like, no, it's going to take me 3 to 5 years, and they want to get some type of ROI in 2 years, you know?
Yeah.
So, and the converse of that, like if you want to go IPO right now and they're like, no, you need to wait for some time, then you need to ensure
Yeah.
that there's alignment there as well, as an example. So definitely though, number one would be alignment of
A vision. Yeah.
vision. Yeah.
Oh,
And make sure you understand what you're doing. A lot of companies like investors just don't even really understand what you're doing. They just think it's cool and they want to satisfy probably some corporate social responsibility thing and or something. And yeah.
Okay. I was gonna
Yeah.
ask you your thoughts on maybe some of the valuation process in general, right? So we've seen a lot of junior market companies being listed over the last, 12 to 18 months with, valuations in some cases over a billion, close to $2 billion. What do you think of, just the valuation process? Because I'm sure you had to, look at that when you were, providing that ownership stake to GK. What was that? What do you think of that process? Do you think that there are things that need to be considered that aren't being considered? And do you think that process brings it to a fair value of the company?
Yeah, so I have spoken about this so many times, right? It is still a big challenge for us here. There's I don't think, especially companies in the tech space, get a fair valuation, right? Um, yeah, and I always say if you take a proposal for a $20 million real estate project and a $20 million tech-based project to an investor, they're going to back the real estate project, and that's fine.
Like,
But the
very
largest
like,
companies in the world are tech companies, right? Um, because they just don't understand how to value IP here, and that's a huge problem. So I mean, if any potential entrepreneurs looking for investment in Jamaica, I would say just be prepared that you're not going to get the valuation that you think you deserve.
yeah,
Point
yeah,
point blank. If you do it, I would be very happy for you. But there's no financial institution that's going to give you, or an investor that's going to give you right now a fair valuation that I know of. Right? I
yeah.
think I think
I was gonna say,
Monique was closest to it.
yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
As just, I've been having, the conversation because I'm interested in, for example, how somebody would, as an example, value, learn, grow, invest. And some of the conversations I have, some of the numbers I'll hear, I think I definitely see a disconnect in what I would think the company is valued based on, what we're able to do and what we could potentially do with, just add a little bit of help. But
Yeah.
just having those conversations tell me a lot about what persons are looking at, I guess, from the outside in. And it's just an interesting conversation to have, I think, because there's often a gap and a considerable gap. And you're right, it's not very likely that you're gonna get, I guess, what you're looking for at a certain point.
No.
And maybe you just have to accept that maybe your company won't be valued what it would be if maybe it was in another country, maybe using different metrics or something
Yeah.
like that. So
Yeah, but on the flip side to that, you also have to be realistic about, of course, as entrepreneurs, we think our company is the greatest thing and the greatest thing since sliced bread, and yeah, it have all of this opportunity and potential, but does it
yeah,
really? You look at the size of the Jamaican market, or and does your company really have that much room to grow? But I remember, we were you know, when we closed our last deal, prior to closing the deal, there was a company in the US that does less than what we do, and they raised 20 million US, right?
hmm
Uh, I don't even know how much valuation, right? And we didn't we didn't get anywhere close to that. So
yeah,
um, it's an unfortunate reality being based in Jamaica and where we are.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I've always said, that one of us need to bust. Like there's one, a unicorn needs to come out of Jamaica or the
yeah.
Caribbean.
That would definitely change the landscape. I think
Yeah,
persons would just look differently at valuations altogether.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I know some guys locally who I think are pretty close to it. So I'm hoping that will happen soon.
Okay, cool. So I wanted to ask you, not to get into any specifics because I figure you wouldn't want to share those, but give us an idea as to what Blue Dot is currently doing in terms of revenues, right? If you can't answer that question, let us maybe have an idea, maybe the last 2 to 3 years, how much business has grown. So is it like 5 times, 10 times, or like just give us an idea as to what we can, if Blue Dot were to list, for example, next year,
Yeah.
what sort of company would we be looking at?
Okay. So I won't get into the specifics of our, what our actual revenue is. What I will say though is that we've had very steady growth, especially in the last 3 years, and good growth, and grown pretty well in the last 3 years. Um, what was the second question?
No, just so I gave a hypothetical, if the
Okay.
company were to list, what sort of company would we be looking at? So if we were to get a preview into the prospectus, what would we be looking at in terms of, companies would normally talk about, how much they've grown, the industries they've gone into, the market share they have. Just, give us an idea as to the size of the company.
Well, I mean, what I will say to that is that I don't think we would list on the junior if we were to list. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. If
Okay.
it if it does happen, if and not if when it does happen, I don't think we would be listing on the junior. Maybe if they're in. When is that $750 million dollar?
No, but that's a moving target.
Yeah,
That's a moving target.
yeah,
I thought we would have heard something about that last year. I've heard it mentioned once per month,
yeah.
but nothing concrete in terms of timelines. But I think 750 honestly is too small, even
It is.
for junior market companies.
I
I
think
think
so.
at minimum that should be a billion or a billion and a half. I
Yeah.
think to start.
I think so too. And I mean, especially for us with where we are now and what's happening in AI and the plans that we have for growth, right? And the mere fact that I can count on one hand the amount of companies that are in our space in the Caribbean, right? Um, you know, our potential is it. I lose sleep over it, thinking about all the things that we can do and should be doing, and what our potential is. So, definitely, we would need to raise quite a bit of money to take advantage of what the opportunities are here.
Even bearing in mind that I think minimum requirement would be about 20%. Um, okay, cool, cool. Thank you for that.
Mm.
So, what would be now the 3 to 5 year outlook for Blue Dot? If we were to meet 5 years from now, what would the company have accomplished over the last 5 years?
I know this is an uncanny answer, but I can't tell you, and I'll tell you why, right? In September, I did the strategic plan, or 2-year strategic plan, right?
Mhm.
And by the end of December, all of that got wiped away because everything that happened in AI happened in November, right? The world as we know it now, February 2023, by the end of this year is going to look completely different based on what I see happening in AI, right? Both good and bad. So I can't tell you, like I wouldn't sit down and do a strat plan right now because like there's
It's
just
too dynamic.
it's too dynamic, right? What I will say though is that we are definitely preparing ourselves to be the front runners in the Caribbean, in AI, machine learning, all of those fancy things, data science, yada 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 yada, and to provide the tools and solutions and the services that will benefit, countries, governments, public and private sector. Um, that's what I will say. So wherever that is, we're going to be there. But 3 years, even 2 years, is too far out for me to look at right now. Yeah, I don't think anybody in this space should anything in tech can accurate, unless you're in like cybersecurity or something, can
Yeah.
accurately pinpoint, what your company is going to look like in a year.
Yeah, I understand. I've been in tech for almost 24 years, so
Yeah,
I understand that 5 years is a long time. It may take 5 to 10 pivots over 5 years. So company may look completely different at that point. The team may look different. The scope of services you provide may look different. The competitive landscape may look different. The regulations in the space may look different. So
yeah,
I get it. I get it.
yeah. It's
So
and
what?
like there's just so many things. Like if I give you an example, right? If I wasn't a patriotic Jamaican, as an example, right, and very very bullish and pro Jamaica, we would create some conversational AI bots right now, but it would wipe out the BPO industry, right? So like we could do that and make a bag of money by doing that,
Yeah.
but it would have negative effects on the Jamaican economy, right? Let me not say wipe out the BPO. It would severely
Yeah, man,
affect
I
the
understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, because AI is at the point now where, especially the conversational AI and the bots that I've been seeing, that we should be concerned about AI and our BPO sector. You know,
Yeah.
uh, as an example. So there's so many ways or things or areas that we could venture into. That I just don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in another couple of months to a year, but we will be
Yeah,
doing something major. You know what I
Yeah, man,
mean?
I understand. And I encourage persons. So persons may reach out to me from time to time, asking about, what sort of tech careers that they can, consider. I'll always encourage persons, if they have a love for data, that's always a good space. If you have programming knowledge, that's even better. And it's all about just, presenting yourself in terms of showcasing what you can do, right? In tech, we have the benefit that it's not always about, degree or certifications, but can you showcase your skill set? Do you have the experience? And just there are a lot of opportunities in the space. And the part you said about being patriotic, I get that as well, because I, like probably many other, Jamaicans, probably considered their options outside of the country being in the tech space,
Yeah,
because I have had job opportunities that I would have met the requirements for, and the person said, they're only hiring in the US.
yeah,
And that, those are some great opportunities. And I'm like, should I just take it? And I said, I want to prove that I can make a living here for myself, for my family. I can run a successful business here, and I'm gonna give that some time.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, it's that window is closing, but I mean, because I did think about the idea of just because the salaries are just so ridiculously
Different.
skewed. The
Correct.
very same job that you could do in Jamaica, in
Yeah.
some countries, paying you 2, 3 times more.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
feels like you're doing the same work for significantly less, only because
Yeah.
one, there's not the companies providing the service aren't always fairly valued by the market. So
Yeah.
the salaries are a subset of
Exactly.
that, right? So it's not
Exactly.
even necessarily that a company wants to pay you less, but
Yeah.
they have to be able to charge their clients a certain amount to pay you what you're worth.
Right.
One can't happen without the other. So
Yeah.
persons have to appreciate the space and what it does for everything to go up to that level.
Yeah.
It's been a hard sell, especially with government and data and cybersecurity and education and things like that. It's just
Yeah. Let me tell
yeah,
you. But if I ever migrate, you can rest assured that it's my last, like, yes, because right
yeah,
now I've calculated it. I give back about between 10 to 20% of my time to back to Jamaica, right?
yeah.
So anybody that know me know that out in mentoring people, a part of all of these projects, Project Stars and the latest one.
Yes,
Um, and so I'm trying to leave Jamaica in a better place than I saw it. So do spend a lot of
same.
time giving back, right? And it's very important to me. So if and I'm very bullish on Jamaica, right? I just think we'll have two little problems that we need to solve, and then we're good. But you know, um, at some point, and I hope it never gets to that point, I would,
Yeah,
like everybody else, you just have to make a decision.
yeah, yeah. Agreed. And I'd say it's a little bit more than two, but I get you. I get you.
Yeah,
All right, so I'm gonna close up by asking a couple of questions about your personal investment strategy before we take questions from our community.
yeah,
So, what is your personal investment strategy? Do you invest in stocks, real estate? Do you just focus on your company?
yeah.
What's that personal investment strategy that you employ?
Up until a little over a year ago, everything was being put back into Bluedot, right? Um, but I started to buy stocks a little over a year ago, maybe 2 years now. But
Nice.
to be honest with you, I treat my stock portfolio as a savings. So whenever I have extra money, I just buy stocks. That's what I do. Um, and of late, I've started to, um, whenever I feel like I waste money, I buy the equivalent in stocks. So if I go out and for some reason buy a bottle of Hennessy or do something stupid like that, then I buy the
Mm.
equivalent in stock to make myself feel better, I guess.
Do,
Um,
do you mind saying which industries you're looking at? Because I don't want you to call company names, but which industries are you bullish on?
um, Food, healthcare, and finance.
Interesting. Food, healthcare, finance.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And
So,
tourism. And tourism.
say again.
And tourism.
Tourism.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Definitely some options there. So, in terms of, so you view investing as something that everybody should do? Is it something you think, for example, as an entrepreneur, is it, invest or focus on your business, or is it both?
So I had no choice but to input back the money in Bluedot, because that's what I couldn't. I had control over that. When you get to a certain point now where you have extra cash, for me, where I had extra cash, then that's when I started to put it in stocks, and it actually helped me out big time just a couple of weeks ago, because I was buying a property and I was able to take a margin loan against my stocks
Ah,
for the closing costs for the property that I buy. So definitely saw the value of it, outside of the other upsides just recently. So
yeah.
um, of course, encourage everybody to put some money aside. There are a couple of big companies now that for some reason their stock price is down. I've been buying up those. We all know who those companies are, because I know that there is going
Yeah.
to be some very good upside very soon. So
I've always wondered, because being in the data field, I try to take that approach in terms of how I do my analysis in investing. Do you employ the data that you have access to make your investment decisions? Because you should have a lot of great insights into some industries.
yeah,
Do
and
you find that helps you? Is it
there's
easier to decide or is it harder based on that?
there's a thin line, right? So for me personally, right? Um, remember, I tell you, we companies that use us, we know what products are about to launch. We would have validated the product, so we know if it's going to do good or not, right? From a moral standpoint, I don't invest when I know something going to shut. I don't do it. With those companies, because quite a bit of our clients are listed companies, right? And they would come to us and say, well, we're about to launch this product, validate it in the market for us, and we do that testing. From a moral standpoint, I don't. Even though I know I can make some money, I just don't do it because I don't want my name calling nothing, right? So I just don't do it. So yes, we do have that insight. Like I said, outside of us doing that, we are collecting so much data out on the road every day just by doing all of these surveys that I know what the pulse of Jamaica is at any point in time. Yeah.
All right. So I mean, based on those industries that you mentioned, definitely I agree with those. Final question that I'll ask is what books or podcasts or articles are you reading right now?
On my desk over there, I wish I could go for them. Productize is one. Um, this book, because when you run a service business, so our model is service based. Now we're creating products out of our services, so you're going to see us start selling data and doing a whole bunch of cool stuff there. So this book, very important. And then I am rereading Outliers because it's also
Okay, I've heard about that one. I've heard about Outliers. I haven't checked it out yet though, but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. 0 to 1 is my favorite book though, or one of my favorite books. 0 to 1.
0 to 1 by who? I think
Peter Thiel. Peter
Peter
Thiel.
Thiel. Yes,
Yeah,
yes. That's on almost everybody's reading list.
um,
I probably should check that out as well.
that,
We 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 were supposed to start a Learn Grow Invest book club. May start doing book reviews. It just feels like the business of Learn Grow Invest kind of takes
yeah.
time. So I've started to, well, my wife has a Audible subscription. She listens to books. I used to do the same, but I feel like I just don't have the bandwidth right now. But I love to read. I love
Yeah,
books and that kind of thing.
yeah. It's,
I
it's something to
do.
get back into more
Say
full.
again.
It's something that I need to get back into. Like I used to read one Hardy Boys every day, one in one day. That's where I'm coming from. I know, you know, just distractions I struggle, but I start.
It's yeah, it's a little challenging. I remember when I was in just regular reading, one of the things that I thought that kind of led me to podcasts is that I find that some authors were adding a lot of fluff in the books. Like you have a 13 chapter book and you really could tell me everything about the book in 5 chapters or 6,
Yeah,
but it feels like you just dancing around the point. And so I got a little discouraged with some of the books, but then I think it's just
well,
kind of expanding the scope and reading, new authors, that kind of thing. So
now you have AI that can summarize all of the points for you.
exactly. When I was at Microsoft, I had Get Abstract, I think it was called. You get a summary of the book, then I'd read the summary first and then determine whether or not I want to read the whole
Exactly.
book. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for answering all those questions. We do have some questions from our community members, so I'll get those in now.
Okay.
Limitless Podcast was asking, what are some of your favorite stocks? I think you mentioned the industries already. So hopefully that helped you, Limitless, because as you know, Larren would not be able to share any specifics. So yeah, Anil is asking, will Bluedot seek to raise additional funds on the Jamaica Stock Exchange in 2023? I don't know if you want to directly answer that. You kind of answered it, but you didn't. But I'll give you a chance to respond.
Definitely some type of capital raise is coming. Personally, of course, it's every entrepreneur's dream to list on the stock exchange, right? That is how you kind of extract. That's the quickest way to, the quickest way to extract value on all of this hard work that I've put in. But I'm trying this delayed gratification thing, and I just don't know if it's going to happen this year. I have some M&A plays in my book that I'm trying to get done. If that happens, then it might happen. If not, next year.
Interesting. So that sounds like you could potentially list now and you're choosing not to. Because here's the thing, if you have M&As planned, you list, M&As can do really well in terms of how the market receives a company. So maybe save those plays for after listing and not before.
Maybe I'm naive, but I think we could list just based on what we do in our industry, and everybody knowing that data is not even the future, is the now, right? And
Yeah.
putting money in us, you must get it back because every company needs us, right? And needs what we do. But we're going to be patient about it. My board, I have a very wise board and partners in GK, and they will, we'll make that decision.
All right, cool. So Limitless, I hope you got the answer for this question as well. I think we kind of just covered it. Abigail is asking, what are some of the trends that you realize after implementing your current marketing strategy with GK?
Interesting question. Hi, Abigail. What are some of the trends that you realize after implementing your current marketing strategy? I don't know if I can speak to any specifics of that. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, it sounds a little wide to me in
Yeah.
terms of what she's asking.
Yeah.
Abigail, I don't know if you can rephrase maybe anything specific that could help, Larry narrow it down. Orville is saying, I sound like I want a job at Bluedot. Larren and I talk. It's always easy to talk to Larren because we're in the same field, so it's just a natural conversation, and there are a lot of things that we're both interested in.
Yeah.
That's just yeah. But I mean, if who knows? Who knows? All right. Orville is asking, which sector or industries do you see potential in? So not necessarily ones that you're holding now, because you gave us those already, but which sectors do you see opportunities in?
Outside of those, agriculture, major. In Guyana, right? One of the biggest takeaways for me from Guyana was that there's even more potential in agriculture over there than there is in the oil and gas. As crazy as that might sound, because of course I'm making billions from oil and gas, but agriculture, there's a food security is going to be a big issue. It's already a big issue across the world.
Yes.
So I think anybody that invests properly in agriculture now will see some big upside.
Yeah, we see, I think we had Joseph Brown on, I think a year ago, and he was saying that a lot of the wealthy are investing in farming.
Yeah.
Because he spoke about food security being a great issue down the line for us as well. I don't think it's something that people think about, but we saw with the conflict with Ukraine last year, some of the food that we usually get through Ukraine, that caused a big issue. Globally, we heard there was something about eggs the other day, maybe some sort of egg shortage.
Yeah.
I think people don't appreciate the fact that we have 7 billion people on Earth. So food can be a great issue, and being lower or closer to the source in terms of providing your own food can be something even more valuable than money itself, because you can't eat the money, of course. So
Exactly. And water as well. The property
yes,
that I just bought has water on it, and that's why I bought it. So one of the reasons why I bought it, because I think the next World War is going to be fought over water. But that's a sorry about
I saw. Oh my gosh, I can't remember. Can't remember the Netflix series. Yeah, water is one of those as well.
Yeah.
Definitely. Limitless is asking, what is your favorite partnership with a company? I don't know if that's clear. That's
What I will say is that I'm not sure what specifically you're referring to, which is
yeah,
like with G or whatever. But what I will say is that when we see a client comes to us and they said, "What, we have this problem," or our prices or sales have gone down, we need to figure out why, right? And we look at data and we do market research and we look at the existing data and we tell them why and we help them to figure it out. And then based on what we tell them, there's an uptick in sales later on. That is what um, you know I feel really good when we're able to solve those types of problems for our clients. If we had more time, I'd go into specifics, but um, yeah, we do some really important work at Bluedot. I must say, and very good work at Bluedot.
okay. Well, I mean, I get it. It's there's no necessarily time limit here. No, if it makes sense to maybe go into another conversation about it, we certainly can do that. And I know, should you, go down that path to list, which it sounds like you are, one of the things that we certainly value as a community is completeness of information, right? So the more information that you share about the company,
For
we
sure.
have conversations in our groups about the completeness of the management discussion and analysis. Some companies don't write any.
Mhm.
And just, insights. The more we know about the company, the more informed our investment decisions can be. So as much information as we can get, it just,
Understood.
leads us to better decisions, right? Data driven decisions, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just
All right.
I should just remember that our mission statement, right? Our North Star
Yeah,
at Blue Dot is to be the wisest company in the Caribbean and to change the way we think and use data. And that's our North Star. Like everything we do is aligned to that. And the products that we're going to be launching hopefully soon will reflect, that mission.
okay. Yeah. All right. Abigail said she'll rephrase, so that's great. I think it's coming up next. Roswell says, I have like Blue Dot business. Okay, okay. I think Rosewell is saying that she likes Blue Dot as a business.
Yeah,
Information today is important for various industries to sell, and get a product they need.
yeah.
On a real level, that's how. Well, Rosewell, I don't know if I'm reading this clearly, but I don't know if you can rephrase, or Larren, if you understand what
Yeah,
business.
I get. It's not. I don't think it's a question. But I
Or
get.
like a symbol. Yeah, that's what I'm getting as well. So I just wanted to be sure that we're good there. So Abigail is asking, how exactly did Blue Dot grow as a company strategically since GK? Okay, that's clearer.
Okay. Well, one, it doesn't hurt that you can almost consider them as an anchor client. So, we do get a certain amount of business from them. So that helps for sure. I don't have to worry about payroll anymore. Um, which is which is, yeah, big stress for any entrepreneur. Uh,
Yes.
and then two, they're very connected. They have presence in right across the Caribbean. They have presence in the US, and the UK and Canada. So I mean, you can think of us following them and leveraging that spread that they have for us entering in a fulsome way
Yeah.
across the Caribbean and into those markets. So my decision to we had quite a few potential investors, right? Them and some other big companies, and my decision to go with GK was based on that strategy of leveraging their spread, their international
Yeah. Yeah. Network often can be more valuable than, money itself, right?
Yeah, it's a strategic partner. There's another Harvard Business Review that everybody should read called The Founder's Dilemma. Everybody should read that.
Yes. While I was researching for this interview, I saw that you mentioned it. So
Yeah,
I have it bookmarked to check
yeah, man.
out
Yeah, man.
as
It's a
well. I'll
quick
share
read.
it in our Telegram group.
Yeah, it's a quick read too. But
Yes.
um very real. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the final question here, from O'Neill, do you employ data from Bluedot to help with your personal investments on the Jamaica Stock Exchange? You might have missed his response to that, O'Neill. But go ahead.
Yeah. People will call me fool, but no, I don't. Like, just one quick example, right? I said this somewhere the other day. Like, if we were looking at wind pattern data, right, we could probably predict what would happen at Wigton, like when Wigton would produce more energy and
Yeah.
therefore generate more revenue, right? So, like, simple things like that, yes, we could be doing it. I haven't started to do it as yet. Personally, morally, because we know what's happening in Jamaica and what's happening in companies. Personally, I don't leverage that, and my team doesn't as well, because, like I said, the reputation is important, and we are privy to, we sign very strict NDAs with our clients, and we are privy to a lot of their inner workings and their strategy and what they're about to launch and what's coming, and that type of stuff. And it just wouldn't be fair for us to leverage that, and compromise our reputation for that.
I fully agree there. And again, being in IT for 20 odd years, working with companies like Microsoft, I do understand. And even as Learn, Grow, Invest, CEOs will be discussing with them, when is the best time to do interviews, for example, what they may have on their roadmap. So, I mean, I can only imagine what you have to deal with, because these projects that you're working with, I actually do work with some publicly listed companies in my job as well.
Yeah,
And you see just the scope of some of these projects that may not even be completed and public information for maybe 12, 18, 24 months.
yeah,
And you can just say what it will do for the company itself, and just the reach or the capabilities that they'll have once they leverage their data in the right way.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, Abigail is saying it now, that would be on the bridge of being unethical. Personally,
yeah,
I don't even I don't even know or understand what really governs that. Like, what do you do? Because I don't think maybe companies, or I guess I don't think there's any kind of framework for that. It's just, as you said, moral guidelines in terms of what you think is best, or reasonable in that way. So it's just, something that, you
yeah,
have to, think about. So I
yeah.
think the final question is snuck in. Orville, do you see Bluedot listing on another stock exchange outside of the Caribbean?
I mean, I want to say, yeah, sure. Like the goal. Why not? Go on the New York Stock Exchange. I mean, here's the thing, guys. Like I said, because of the space that we're you know, in this data space, like if you really understand like the potential of it, then our potential is also immense. I mean, every entrepreneur will tell you that, right? But there's just so much opportunity and so much leg room for us. So, yeah, ideally we would want to, thinking big, of course, I would want to say that that's in the works. We have a company and a team in Trinidad, so maybe there's some cross listing that can happen with the TT Stock Exchange. I don't know. But yeah, the why not is my response.
Yeah. Yeah. All
But just to
right.
say, I don't want to, spook anything. At the current moment, we have no prospectus is being done. There's no plans. I'm just trying to, satisfy our clients, grow our revenue, um, get a bigger valuation, and then I'll go to the board and say, hey, I think, we need this money to buy this company, or we need this money to do this.
Yeah.
Let's raise some money, But currently, Grace is listed on the stock exchange. I have to be very careful about what I say. There are no concrete plans for us to list at this point.
Yeah, man. Thank you for that clarity. We're definitely appreciative of that. Limitless Podcast is saying, JC has rules on material information that you read versus what you're saying about knowing the information through working with companies. Okay, yeah, that I figured there would be something there. So, all right, Larren. Any final comments, thoughts that you would like to share with our audience?
No, just two things I've been saying every opportunity I get, right? Give back as much as you can, one, and two, if you're an entrepreneur, pay attention to mental health. Go to therapy if you need to. I know I have quite a few entrepreneur friends like myself who do go to therapy, because this is hard. It's extremely hard.
Yeah.
Very, very hard to run a business, successful or not. It's just very hard in Jamaica, and there's just so many things going on, and it's very important to pay attention to your mental health. I started writing recently, and I literally said that it saved my life, because it helped, and just pay attention to that and live before you die.
Yeah. Agreed. It's business is hard. I think Jamaica has a great talent in making it harder than it needs to be in some cases.
Yeah.
And I mean, you see it on Twitter. There is something new to outrage about every week. So
Every day.
it's there are challenges, and what I found very early is that almost like with businesses, especially small businesses, there's not often great support. So I find that it's best to support each other. So if you know other businesses, other persons who could, a lot of times it's just having somebody to brainstorm with, talk about things, get a different perspective. That payroll thing you mentioned briefly, I remember, having to put my staff on payment plans because I couldn't pay them all. So I had to get just enough money to give them 50% of their salary, then 25% the week after, then 25% the week after.
Yep.
So
I've been there, bro. I mean, if
yeah.
you follow me on social media long enough, you'll see where I posted me pawning upon my car, upon my TV, my fridge, everything just to meet payroll, right? Because I promised my staff that your money going to reach. So I do anything and whatever it takes to make payroll. You know.
Yeah, and it's just when I hear persons talk, so there was this thread I saw once, and I mean I understood where they were coming from, but the thought process was don't hire people if you can't pay them. And I was like, it took me a long time to kind of read through what the person was saying, because on one hand I understand, but I think as an entrepreneur, you not you're not often able to predict how
Exactly.
business will go. Some things are seasonal, so I could hire somebody now, able to pay them for 3 months, and then
Yeah.
we don't do any business for 3 months. If I
Yeah.
let them go, then we can't do any more business.
Yeah.
So it's not. It just
Yeah.
wasn't that simple.
I remember one of my employees asked me in 2020, if I never planned for the pandemic.
Mm,
Right? As
yeah,
in, she was essentially asking me if I didn't have in my as a buffer a plan for a pandemic about to happen, right?
yeah,
And yeah, it's just yeah.
yeah.
But payroll stress is one of the worst stresses you can ever have in life, outside of health and family issues and whatnot.
Yeah, agreed. So two questions have kind of snuck under the tape there. One Love All is asking, is Bluedot debt free currently?
We are.
All right. And Orville is asking, what advice would you give to a prospective investor?
Look at the long-term play for these companies. You know, are the industries that they're in long-term and viable and going to be future sustainable or future proof, right? So, again, not to be beating the AI horse, but AI is about to disrupt a lot of companies, a lot of industries, right? In good ways and bad ways. It will help to make some more efficient by automation. So some companies will, be laying off people and automating and using AI to do a lot of things. So those companies are good to invest in. A company like Nvidia, as an example, and companies that make computer chips, because AI is going to require so much processing speed and space. Those companies are very good to invest in now. So just look at future proof companies. Cliche as it might sound, but now juxtapose or within the context of AI and technology.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you so much, Larren. Really enjoyed this discussion. I know, you would have provided great insights and value to our audience. We wish you all the best with the business and its future growth and plans. We'll certainly be talking again about some of the things that we kind of started to speak about. It gave me some ideas. I'll be messaging you about some of them. But all the best. We hope to speak to you again soon once there is a prospectus out. Just consider us a part of that kind of marketing mix of companies that you'll speak with.
For sure. Thank you,
All
man.
right, great. Thank you.
And thank you for everyone that listened and asked questions. And all the best to everyone.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Thank you for being here. Please, before we go, please like the video. It greatly helps our channel. A couple of things that I wanted to say before I close out the video. We would have launched our L.E.A.R.N Grow Invest Academy. So it's learngrowinvestacademy.com. Check that out. Give us your feedback. Let us know which courses you'd like to see. We're working on stocks for beginners that should be launched in about a month or so. We have our Grow Your Wealth conference that was aired in December. That's already on the platform. We do have a new mailing list. If you have not joined our mailing list yet, the link is in the description of this video. We send out emails not weekly anymore, because what we found is that there are persons who wanted tailored content. So we found a new email list tool, and what we're trying to do is we're going to be doing a survey soon asking you the type of content that you would like to get, so that we can give you more tailored content, so that you'll open the emails more, so that you'll read them more, so that we'll get better engagement from you, all of that good stuff. So look out for those updates. And just thank you for being a part of this community. If you're not already in our Telegram group, be sure to check that out. The links are in the description again. We have our monthly meeting this Thursday. We'll be meeting with Adrian Smith from Dequity Capital. That will be our in-person meeting. So this should be up on Thursday. If you're able to make it, great. If not, you can catch us on YouTube. We should be streaming it on Instagram as well. So those are some updates. Really, really like this interview with Larren. I hope you watched all of it. If you're just joining, just check out the replay. And I'll see you all in the very next video.
Learning is the key to successful investing. And who doesn't want to invest in some way?
Here at L.E.A.R.N Grow Invest, we focus on financial education, all with the aim of sharing our knowledge on personal finance, investing, and building wealth. We do this on the foundation of our faith in God.
If a more holistic approach is what you need, check out our Grow Faith-Based Financial Coaching Program.
Find out more about us at learngrowinvestclub.com
and follow us on all social media platforms at L.E.A.R.N Grow Invest.